Yo everyone, welcome to my predictions and breakdown of the entire UFC Fight Night Whittaker vs. the Ritter fight card. Decent card overall, but there are quite a few absolute banger sleeper matchups here, and I'm keen to go through all of them for you now. Before we get into the video, however, let's quickly recap the last UFC card and talk about our channel results as well for UFC 318, Holloway vs. Poirier. And if you don't care about my recap at all, guys, for that card, of course, timestamps will be in the description and the comments below if you want to skip to anything at all. But I will recap the card here just a bit, since I didn't actually make a recap video for that event because I was a little bit too busy. Now, the card overall performed very well, especially the prelims. So many finishes in the prelims, but let's start with the main event and quickly recap this card downwards from top to bottom. I don't care what anyone says. I think the fight lived up to the hype. I saw a lot of people disappointed in the outcome of the main event, and I have no idea why. I picked Max Holloway to win, a 49-46 decision win most likely, and he did just that. But it's not like there weren't back and forth moments in the fight. I honestly think the disappointment is only because people actually wanted to see Dustin win this fight, but it's honestly worse for the sport if you think about it going forward. If Dustin does beat Max, because he is retiring right afterwards, and a new contender has now lost to a guy you aren't going to get any more fights out of as a company. Anyways, guys, to talk about the actual fight though now, I thought it was great. I'm happy Max didn't end up finishing Dustin in that first round after rocking him, because that would have been so bad for the fans, guys. I'm actually very happy that Dustin had his moment even in the second round, getting on top of Max and turning the tables there. But ultimately, guys, Max is really good at 155. A properly prepared Max Holloway is dangerous at 155 because he has the volume, but also has the speed and a power that he doesn't have at 145. You could really tell that Dustin didn't expect to get hit that hard at the start of the fight. I'm also very impressed how much Holloway peppered the body with those kicks, absolutely vicious body kicks, and I think for sure they were a big reason why Dustin wasn't pressuring as much as he normally would. I think they were deterring him quite a lot. Anyways, guys, I'm very happy for Dustin. I hope he enjoys his retirement. I think he gave us a great fight overall. He deserves a long, nice rest with his retirement. I'm also keen to see what matchups they're looking for next for Holloway after this. I'd probably like to see him fight someone like Oliveira next, and I'm actually thinking of making a lightweight matchup video soon. If anyone wants to see that, please let me know. Moving on to the co-main event though, and don't worry guys, I am going to speed through the whole card here. I'll make sure to speed through this card pretty quickly so we can get into the predictions. Costa looked amazing, guys. The best he's looked for a long time. We know he's always had solid technique and power, but he was just so tentative in a lot of his recent fights, and he's never let his hands go that much as he did in this fight with Krylov. He's let so many fights get away from him. This fight was extremely impressive to watch. It was a great performance from him. He pretty much shut out Krylov for all 3 rounds. I was pretty shocked as someone who picked Krylov to win this fight. I think he looked fantastic. Great fight from Paulo Costa. As for the feature fight of the card, D-Rod versus Kevin Holland, it was a massive upset with D-Rod getting the win over Holland, but it was an insane fight for sure. This should really have gotten fight of the night over Vettori Allen, in my opinion. I'm surprised actually that Max and Dustin didn't even get fight of the night either. It was very surprising that Vettori and Allen got it over both those fights. But insane fight from D-Rod and Kevin Holland. I was surprised that D-Rod didn't get Kevin Holland out of there in the second round, and I'm also surprised that Holland didn't get D-Rod out of there in the third round when he had him hurt. I thought this fight could have been stopped so many times. I really would have never thought that this fight was going to go to the decision when I saw the way they had each other hurt in this fight. Great scrap from both of them. Pitbull versus Dan Ige was a little bit boring in the first half. There was pretty much nothing done for the first 7 minutes of the fight, but then it did actually turn into a pretty solid scrap after those first 7 minutes. I wish they did more in the first half of the fight though. Good win by Pitbull. Michael Johnson also got a win over Daniel Zellhuber, and I wasn't actually too surprised to see the upset, but it does suck for Zellhuber as a prospect, but Michael Johnson isn't terrible, guys, and like people are saying, Unk still got it, as they say, guys. I hate that term, actually. I never use it myself, but I've been seeing it tossed around a lot. But it is true here. I'll also highlight the prelims here really quickly. Most of them, at least, you can see them in the pictures here. There were so many banger performances, so many finishes, especially first round finishes. The prelims have been performing a lot better than most main cards recently, and you have to pay for the mains, guys, so I wish the main cards were performing a lot better, for fuck's sake, you know. Anyways, guys, I've recapped the card for you there, but let's also talk about the channel results as well. And, whoa, guys, what's that? That's my 3-week profit streak on screen. What are you doing here, buddy? Oh, wait a second. Do you guys hear that? What's that noise? What the hell? Oh my God! What the fuck happened, guys? All jokes aside, we got absolutely cleaned out this week. Apologies for those tailing, but guys, the truly disappointing thing is that we didn't have to have it be so bad. If Dan Ige and Kevin Holland won, who were both favorites to win their fights, by the way, I would have been up quite a bit of money on this card. And even if one of them won and not the other, I pretty much break even for the event. But the fact that they both lost was absolutely devastating for the betting guide, and it was something that I didn't expect to happen. Probably my worst results on a card so far to date in terms of bets, but I'm always transparent with these things, guys. I do plan to come back stronger on the next card and start another profit streak, since the last one just got blown up, as you can probably see. And the funny thing is, my picks actually weren't terrible for the card. I went 8-1 on the prelims for picks, but the main card smashed me. I went 1-4 on the main, so overall it wasn't bad, but the main card was bad for me. And I also did actually get both my favorite lock of the card and underdog lock of the card correct, with also my high risk, high reward bet actually cashing as well. If anyone tailed that, that was the Michael Johnson bet, by the way. But anyways, guys, that's it for the recap for that card and my bet results. We are now here for UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus the Ritter, and we are looking to destroy this next card. So stay tuned in this video for all the fighter info I'm going to be laying out for you guys here. I will be posting the full card betting guide video for this card later on this week when the bet lines are fully out, so you guys can see all the bets I'm thinking about for this card. And if you want to be a part of the betting guide by becoming the subscribers bet of the week, please go into the comment section below and let me know what your favorite bets are for this card, and I will be taking one person's bet to add to the betting guide for this week. This bet may be a specific bet I like, or even the top comment with the most likes on the video. If you think you've got a solid bet in mind, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Anyways, guys, to finally jump into the video, I'll be starting with the prelims and working my way all the way to the main event. Timestamps are in the description and the comment section below if you'd like to skip to any fight in particular. We're going to be starting with the first fight of the card, which is Martin Buday versus Marcus Buchecha. And I'll be honest, I don't really like this. I don't like seeing Marcus Buchecha a favorite against Martin Buday, because I think this is like a straight 50-50 with too many unknowns going into it. I also don't like Martin Buday that much, in my opinion, because I've watched him win probably one of the most boring fights I've ever seen against Andrei Arlovski, and that fight still leaves a sour taste in my mouth. But regardless, when talking about this matchup, Martin Buday hasn't versed many grapplers in the UFC at all that have tried to consistently take him down, and Marcus Buchecha is also pretty green overall, making his UFC debut with a 5-1 record. I had heard of Buchecha before because of all the grappling and BJJ accolades he has. The guy is an extremely technical and seasoned grappler, but in my opinion, that's pretty much where it ends. I think he's decent on the feet, but he's not as experienced or as good as Martin Buday on the feet, in my opinion. And if he struggles to get him to the ground, I could see him losing this fight very easily. But like I've said in the past, guys, and I said this even recently again when Walter Walker was set to verse Kennedy Nzechukwu, in the heavier weight classes, I always lean more towards the guy with the grappling advantage, especially if I think it is quite a significant one, because in the heavier weight classes, the dudes are just less skilled in general in the grappling department. I think Buchecha will have the speed advantage as well. At least initially, he will have that speed advantage. He should be able to secure a takedown at some point in the first round and hopefully find the submission win before the fight gets too extended and starts to go into the later rounds. That's how I see this fight playing out, but mark my words, guys, no bets on this fight at all. Too many unknowns for me here. It's a 50-50 fight in my opinion. Marcus Buchecha is the pick though. I'm picking him to win by finish on the ground after getting the takedown. Moving on to Muhammad Yahya versus Stephen Nguyen, or Stephen Nguyen. Quick pick here, I'm going to go with Stephen Nguyen to get the win over Muhammad Yahya, and it's not because I'm super confident in Stephen Nguyen or I think he's like some insane world beater. It's just because I think Muhammad Yahya has shown that he's not at UFC level right now. This guy has shown pretty much no sort of attribute that I could see that would help him win a fight in the organization, to be honest. Granted, his 2 UFC opponents that he lost to aren't terrible. I think they were Caio Fernandez and Trevor Peek, and they are decent names. But he pretty much gave them no resistance, in my opinion, in those fights. He isn't very technical. He also gets hit quite a lot without throwing that much, which is a bad combination to have. And when I think about the matchup, Stephen Nguyen throws quite a bit, he's durable, and he is decent when putting combos together on the feet, and I do think all of those things are enough to get a win in this fight. That's about it, guys. Moving on to Ibo Aslan versus Billy Elekana. And now this is an interesting matchup because if people don't remember, Billy Elekana lost his UFC debut against Bogdan Guskov, and you might say, how the hell is this guy debuting versus someone like Bogdan Guskov off rip? That's pretty harsh. And that's because the dude actually took the fight on extremely short notice as a replacement for Johnny Walker, I believe it was. And the funny thing is, I thought he actually looked amazing for a guy versing the number 13 ranked guy in the division with 0 training camp. He immediately took down Bogdan Guskov in the first round, he took his back, and had a fully locked in body triangle for almost the entirety of the first round. The guy even looked decent on the feet before ultimately getting finished, of course, because he gassed out. And I think I'm actually going to go with the pretty sizable underdog in Billy Elekana to pull off the upset here over Ibo Aslan because of that grappling edge, honestly. I think Billy has been prepared for this fight now. He has had a training camp. He knows how dangerous Ibo Aslan is on the feet in the exchanges, and he's most likely going to try to take him down and submit him very similarly to how Ion Cutelaba submitted Ibo Aslan in his last fight. And something else to mention is that although Ibo is dangerous on the feet, he isn't the most technical and can be out tit for tatted a lot in my opinion. I actually thought Anton Turkaj was cooking him on the feet for the most part before he ended up finishing him, and that guy isn't that good to me. That's how I feel, guys. I'm going to go with the sizable underdog Billy Elekana to get the win here in this matchup by submission. That's my prediction for this fight. Moving on to Amanda Ribas versus Tabatha Ricci. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, I think this is going to be an absolute snooze fest big time. And you know me, guys, I'm not a big person on trash talking WMMA fights. I actually did hype up the last WMMA fight, which was Kali Jadis versus Nicole Cagliari. I said that fight was going to be entertaining AF, and I was right. That was a great fight with Kali Jadis getting the finish in the 3rd round. But this fight, guys, I think it's going to be a snooze fest. That's my official prediction for this fight. Moving on to the next fight of the card. I'm trolling, of course, guys. If I had to predict one to win, though, maybe I lean towards Amanda Ribas, just because I think she's a little bit less tentative maybe on the feet. But it's a pretty close one for me personally. I'm going to go with Amanda Ribas, though. I feel like she's got her own offensive wrestling to compete with Tabatha Ricci's here. She's also got the power advantage, in my opinion. She's going to have the reach and size advantage over Ricci. I'm leaning towards Amanda Ribas here, guys. Moving on to Davey Grant versus Damon Blackshear. And this one is a little bit of a tricky one. And I think mostly that's because I actually like Davey Grant. I think the dude has genuinely been robbed quite a few times now in his career. He's also an older guy who's still got some skill. He's got some pep in his step when it comes to his striking. And this actually does make him tough for guys to deal with. But I do think overall that Damon Blackshear should be able to do enough to solve the Davey Grant puzzle in this fight. I would really hope that Damon Blackshear keeps a decent volume in the striking whilst trying to use his superior physicality and grappling to control Grant in moments in this fight and potentially get a submission over him. If you aren't careful though, Grant can quickly start banking points and rounds in fights because the dude just sticks and moves very well and hits you from range. So like I mentioned, guys, as long as Damon Blackshear stays active in the striking and mixes in his grappling often as well, this feels like a relatively comfortable pick in that circumstance. So Damon Blackshear is the pick here, guys. It's a close one though. I wouldn't be surprised to see many people go with the underdog here in Davey Grant. Moving on to Muslim Salikhov versus Carlos Leal. And personally, guys, I think Carlos Leal is the real deal when it comes to just marauding forward against his opponents and keeping a non-stop pace. I don't know if anyone's seen his last two fights against Rinat Fakhretdinov and Alex Morono, but the guy literally does not stop pushing forward, and in this sort of matchup, I like that style a lot, since Muslim Salikhov relies a lot in his kicking game, and when you are close to him, you smother his kicks. I also think Salikhov slows down quite a bit in his fights when you push him back. Into those second and third rounds, I believe he slows down quite a lot, and it's only going to get worse for him against someone with the pressure and pace of Carlos Leal. I'm picking Leal to win this fight. I think he wins this fight by KO as well. Could be a decision win, but honestly, I think the KO is coming. I think it happens in the second round if I had to call it. Muslim Salikhov, he's 41 years old, his style is set in stone, he's not getting any faster or fitter at his age, and he hasn't dealt with guys that fight like Carlos Leal very well in his career. I'm pretty sure Nicholas Dalby beat him, if I'm not mistaken, not long ago. Carlos Leal is the pick, guys. Confident picks list edition as well. Moving on to Bryce Mitchell versus Saeed Nurmagomedov, and this one might be one of the toughest picks for me on the card. On one hand, I think this is a very winnable fight for Bryce Mitchell. I've seen Saeed Nurmagomedov gas out in the third round of some of his fights. I've also seen him controlled via the grappling by some of his opponents for quite a significant amount of time in his fights, and those opponents do not have the level of grappling of Bryce Mitchell. But I also think that Bryce isn't the greatest on the feet, and I think that he is at a disadvantage when it comes to the striking against Saeed Nurmagomedov. I also think Saeed threatens a lot of submission in his fights, and that's usually what allows him to get out of some of the poor grappling positions and situations, and I think they are going to come up and come in handy during this fight. We just watched Bryce Mitchell get front choked out cold by Gene Silva, and Saeed Nurmagomedov, and this is no exaggeration, guys, by the way, might have some of the slickest front choke submissions I've ever seen. This guy can snatch up guillotines and front chokes in general better and slicker than anyone I've ever seen try them. And that's a big worry I have for Bryce in this fight. I think I see Saeed Nurmagomedov winning either by front choke, similar to Gene Silva, or by decision by just out-damaging Bryce Mitchell here. I just don't know if Bryce will be able to have a perfect dominating wrestling performance against Saeed Nurmagomedov here, and for that reason, I'm going to go with the underdog, Saeed Nurmagomedov, to get it done here. Moving on to the main card though, Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov, and this is a great matchup, but man, we just saw Nikita Krylov get flatlined out cold by Dominic Reyes in his last fight, and it feels like it really wasn't that long ago. It was only 3 months ago, and it just seems way too soon to jump back into the octagon, especially against a dude like Bogdan Guskov, who is quite talented with his hands and who hits very hard. And under normal circumstances, without seeing Nikita Krylov's last fight, I would probably agree with the odds. I probably think he wins this fight with the grappling advantage by taking down someone like Bogdan Guskov and controlling him on the ground, getting a relatively dominant victory here. But guys, it's really just the turnaround for me. I can't get it out of my head. I really do hate it. I think like this guy took 2 years off before fighting Reyes. He got viciously knocked out, and now he only wants to take 3 months off before he fights someone like Bogdan Guskov. Like, take your career more seriously, man. If you want my opinion on this fight, I think it's a 50-50 now because of what happened. I did see Bogdan Guskov get controlled by Billy Elekana in his last fight for a little too long, and I know he has a lot of problems in his past getting submitted and dominated by grapplers. It's happened plenty of times, so it does make me want to lean towards Krylov, since I think his skill set overall is just way better. He should be able to get this fight to the ground and work his game, but guys, I've said it, I think at least twice or 3 times now, it's the turnaround for me. It's plaguing my mind. There's no way he will be able to take the shots in this fight that Bogdan Guskov will give him. I think I might actually lean towards the underdog again in Bogdan Guskov to get the win here by KO as well. It's just too fast, guys. It's too fast of a turnaround. He should have taken more time to recover. I think this is a huge mistake, a really massive mistake, honestly, from his team. This fight might actually be a bet contender potentially for it to go inside the distance. I don't think it will go the distance, because if Nikita Krylov wins, he probably wins via a finish on the ground. And if Bogdan wins this fight, it's probably by KO on the feet. So Bogdan is the pick for this fight. I am picking another underdog. Moving on to Asu Almabayev versus Jose Ochoa. And let me get this straight, guys. I did hear this, and you guys can let me know if this was true or not. But Jose Ochoa is stepping in to face Asu Almabayev because Ramazan Temirov couldn't fight due to a failing drug test, if that's correct. And the reason it was that he failed this drug test was because of a medication prescribed to him by an actual doctor that he was using to heal himself of an infection, I believe it was. And that medication had a banned substance in it. And I'll be honest, guys, hearing that though, if that is true, I don't know how much I believe something like that. I feel like as an athlete, you check everything very rigorously before intaking it, especially if it's prescribed by a doctor, and that doctor knows that you're an athlete that's under a specific athletic commission, and they know you're going to be drug tested by that organization very regularly. But regardless, we have a new matchup. Jose Ochoa versus Asu Almabayev, and I've said many times before that I've been a day one Asu Almabayev guy. I really like him as a fighter. I like his style. I think he's an extremely technical dude. He's very well rounded, and I was extremely upset to see him lose against Manel Kape, especially since Manel Kape was going for the fucking world record for the most fouls committed in a fight. He's a freaking scumbag, guys. Like, he was doing 1-2 eye pokes, like those combos that you would see Chris Weidman chuck at Bruno Silva. I was pretty much fuming at that fight, but putting that all aside, I still think Asu Almabayev is good enough to get the win here, and I actually think he's like a slight underdog maybe. I might have to check the odds. Maybe it flipped. But I think they're close to dead even. I'll know for sure when the bet lines show up on Bet365 and Sportsbet. Jose Ochoa did show that he does have some solid takedown defense and can get up once he is taken down to a degree, of course. That was in his fight with Cody Durden, but I don't know if that defensive grappling is good enough to withstand Asu Almabayev. I don't want to say he can't beat Asu Almabayev. Ultimately, this fight is close, with Jose Ochoa being the better and more dangerous striker on the feet, but I do think I could see Asu Almabayev being able to control Jose Ochoa on the ground for at least 2 rounds of this fight. That's all it comes down to, guys, but I wouldn't be surprised, like I said already, if the fight goes the other way. Asu Almabayev is the pick, and he might be another underdog pick potentially. Gonna go check the odds after this. Moving on to the feature fight of the card, Shara Magomedov versus Marc-Andre Barriault. And this is pretty good matchmaking. I like this fight for Shara Magomedov a lot. I think he does best against guys who can be a bit more stationary. I know that Marc-Andre Barriault will pressure heavy, and that might cause some problems for Shara Magomedov, but I do think that Shara is extremely light on his feet. He keeps a decent pace and volume in the striking, and he will undoubtedly, no questions asked, have the speed advantage with his hands in this fight. I wasn't surprised to see MVP beat Shara Bullet. I picked MVP to win as an underdog in that fight, but this is a completely different matchup, and I think it's a very winnable matchup for Shara Magomedov against a pretty solid opponent as well in Marc-Andre Barriault. It should be a very fun fight. I see there being a lot of scrappy exchanges here with Marc-Andre Barriault because he likes to back up his opponents, and I can see him backing up Shara Magomedov against the cage, but ultimately, I see Shara being able to get the better of most of the stand-up exchanges and potentially get a finish here if Marc-Andre Barriault gets a little too overzealous when closing the distance. Official prediction, though, will be Shara Magomedov by KO in the later rounds or decision win. That's my prediction, guys. Moving on to the co-main event now, Petr Yan versus Marcus McGhee. And I think this one's going to be a tough one for Marcus McGhee, guys. Petr Yan has shown that he's so good. He's incredibly technical. He's well-rounded. Not many people can flat out beat him in the striking in general. And Marcus McGhee had a really tough time against Jonathan Martinez in his last fight. I know it might say unanimous decision win for him on his record, but it looked like Martinez could have potentially gotten a finish over him in the 3rd round with those calf kicks. An absolutely insane amount of damage he did to Marcus McGhee's legs in that fight. I can see a little bit of that happening in this fight as well, but I can mostly see the pressure, the pace, just the technical advantage on the feet, all of that combined being a little too much for Marcus McGhee to handle. This will be his toughest test to date in his whole career. I do think regardless of what happens though, Petr Yan is the better all-rounder anyway. Could just end up winning the boxing exchanges outright here without the aid of the leg kicks like I mentioned. But even if he does somehow struggle in the stand-up, he always has his insanely slick trips, his slick throws, his takedowns to get this fight to the ground and work his way into a clean win here. I think this might actually be one of the more confident picks I have on this card. I will add it to my confident picks list as well for the event. Petr Yan is the pick, most likely by decision win, 30-27. Moving on to the main event of the evening now, Robert Whittaker versus Reinier. And it's my boy Bobby Knuckles, guys, back at it again in another main event, and I was pretty sad the last time he fought, just mostly due to how it ended. It mostly just felt a little off since he tapped really quickly due to his teeth and jaw being shattered, but he's back now versus DDP version 2 in Reinier de Ridder, and most people might be thinking something like, well, if Reinier de Ridder is so similar to DDP, could it be another Whittaker loss upset coming? And honestly, guys, as sad as it sounds, and as much as I'm hoping Robert Whittaker wins this fight here, I think I am actually leaning towards the underdog in Reinier de Ridder to win this matchup. I've been doubting Reinier de Ridder so much in his matchups. The dude just looks so awkward, and frankly, he looks like shit sometimes, guys. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. He looks like shit sometimes. But the guy actually just is able to get it done time and time again, and it just makes me have to look at his skill set and his ability objectively more. He is massive for the division, not just in height, but he's literally huge in terms of muscularity. He uses his physicality very well in his fights. You could see how many times he forced the cage side exchanges and clinches in his fight with Bo Nickel. The dude knows what he's doing. He does it very well. He's also always looking for that trip, that throw, that way to get you to the ground where he will have the overwhelming advantage over you. And in this matchup with Whittaker, all that stuff remains true. If Robert Whittaker doesn't knock him out early, in one of the exchanges whilst he's getting pressured back, I don't know how he's going to avoid getting smothered and eventually getting taken down and submitted in this fight. We all know Whittaker is the more technical guy, guys. He of course has the advantage on the feet over de Ridder, but that didn't stop DDP before, and I don't know if it will stop de Ridder either. I think Whittaker has done poorly against these bigger, more physical grappler opponents, and as much as I want him to win this fight, and I will be rooting for him here, make no mistake, I will be picking Reinier de Ridder to get it done in this fight by submission win. That's my prediction for the main event, guys. And that wraps up my full card predictions and breakdown for the entire UFC Fight Night Whittaker vs. de Ridder fight card. If you guys have any thoughts or any questions for me regarding the card, feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to respond to every single comment left in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you guys next time.